A warm welcome to everyone. I'm glad you tuned in. Today, we're going to take a look at the new products from Dr. Glossy. The package just arrived, and we're going to unbox it together to see everything that's included. To make sure I can test all the products for you, I went ahead and got both sets. So you can also buy the products individually from Dr. Glossy in the web shop, but I thought if I want to check out everything, I might as well go for the set prices. I think you usually get a bit of a better deal that way. I paid a total of 56.7 for everything, so just under 57 euros. Shipping costs are already included in that. And as you can see here, we have various cloths, the interior cleaner, the Crazy Shine Dr. Glossy Quickdetailer, and 2 spray heads as well. Other than that, the box is completely empty, and we'll first take a look at the 2 sets. Let's sort things out quickly. Here we have the Cuddle Buddy, 2 pieces. We have Mr. Off and Mr. On. These are 2 gloves. Today we'll start with the Crazy Shine. I want to separate things a bit, so we'll look at the exterior first and then the interior. So in this video, we'll set this aside for now and start with the Crazy Shine Detailer. You already know the prices and the fill quantity. If not, I'll display them for you here again. This is a quick cleaner, a quick detailer. For those of you who aren't very active in this area yet, the definition of detailer is very broad. There are detailers that are simply sprayed onto the surface as a cleaning product, for example, to remove bird droppings, bit of dust, and so on, because the term detailer isn't clearly defined. Let's take the Sonex Brilliant Shine Detailer as an example. It creates a very, very rough paint surface, but has extremely strong water repellent properties, and it could just as well be labeled as a spray sealant. Here it's actually the complete opposite. Here the goal is really to create a very, very nice and soft paint feel after application. And that's actually what we know from, let's say, 90% of all quick detailers, that the surface then feels a bit softer and the product simply sits on top of the surface. And we also have a spray head for it. We can also take a look at the scent in a moment. Very, very fruity, yes. In terms of intensity, I think it's completely standard as well. I don't think it's heavily perfumed or anything like that. So it's pleasant here as well. Very, very nice. I really like it. And as for the spray head, you know it from other products as well. For example, here we have the Sonex Foil Detailer, exactly the same spray head. We know where these products actually come from. This is a product that I definitely want to include in the comparison as well. Here we still have an old bottle of the ceramic quick detailer with the old spray head from before the change, but the product itself hasn't changed. This will also be directly compared with this product here, because of course we need a point of reference. We simply need to know where this product stands, because in terms of price, for 500 milliliters, this is definitely a significant markup compared to the ceramic quick detailer from Sonex. And even in the larger comparison, at 500 milliliters, it's not exactly the cheapest option. That's why it really has to be extremely convincing. Application, wash the car thoroughly. Clearly, this is not a car cleaning product meant to remove heavy dirt, but really for the details. That's why it's called a detailer. Shake the bottle before use, spray the detailer onto the microfiber cloth or directly onto specific areas, then spread it evenly and thinly and polish off any residue with the dry side of the microfiber cloth. And since we're already on the topic of microfibers, let's take a look at the Cuddle Body cloth here. What I noticed right away about this cloth is that it has these crease edges. These are meant to help us fold the cloth, so to speak. To be honest, I have never needed something like this on a microfiber cloth, because if you can't fold a cloth in half these days, you might as well give up the hobby altogether. It should be obvious to everyone that you should or can fold a cloth like this, and that you shouldn't use a microfiber cloth unfolded should also be clear, although I do still see that from time to time. So now I'll just show you how to use it. You fold the cloth to the size you want to achieve. Whether you really need a dividing seam for that, I'm not so sure. That's a feature I personally don't see as a huge advantage. You can decide that for yourselves. For me, it's unnecessary, because anyone should be able to fold a 40 by 40 cloth. What I don't really like is the edge here, because the trend has long been toward edgeless cloths, especially ones that don't have an extra polyester border, since that can cause light scratches on sensitive paintwork. I'll test that as well. Here we have the seam transition. That means the whole edge is completely stitched here. But let's just see how it performs. Otherwise, we have a long microfiber side here, or rather the longer microfiber side, and on the other side, the shorter microfiber. The whole community is a bit divided on that as well. So, which is better? Do you prefer long fibers or short fibers? If you want to absorb a lot of product because you have a lot of product residue, then of course a thick and long microfiber side is better, as it can absorb more, and the short side is then for buffing. Try out what you like better. Again, if the products are generally easy to work with, it's almost irrelevant whether you use this side or the other side. Just give it a try. In terms of overall quality, the cloth is fine. I don't see any fiber sticking out here. Just take a look around. It actually looks pretty good. In my opinion, you should completely do away with a border like this. If you didn't print the Dr. Glossy logo on the edge here, or if this wasn't added, it would be just like any other simple Asian microfiber cloth available on the market. As for the price, I think it's okay, but there are definitely much cheaper options in this category for this cloth size, especially when you consider buying in larger quantities. There are also sets of 5, 10 and 50 if you look at different cloths. The price isn't particularly high, but you can get similar cloths for 1 or 2 euros less, and those are completely edgeless, which is something I personally prefer. That's just my personal opinion. Now let's take a look at the detailer. We'll apply it together, and I'm curious to see how it performs. Let's get started. Have fun. In this video, we're going to test out various things. First, the cleaning performance, but since I always give products in the detailer category when evaluating sealing performance, a bit of curing time, today we're going to structure the test a little differently. That means we'll tape off a section here that we won't seal. On one side, we'll apply the Dr. Glossy Quick Detailer, and on the other side, just for comparison, the ceramic Quick Detailer, since the topic of ceramic is also mentioned in the product description. That's why I see the ceramic Quick Detailer from Sonex as a direct competitor here. Let's start with the Dr. Glossy. Simply loosen the spray head up here. It also has a child safety lock, just like we know from the other bottles. Then we'll fill it with a spray head and spray a bit onto the cloth. You can also mist it directly onto the surface, but I don't want to spray anything onto the other side. That's why I'll just do a few sprays onto the cloth here. I'll put a bit of it on here. The scent is definitely very pleasant. And now I'll apply it to this surface here. This isn't about cleaning performance or anything like that, but rather this is the surface we'll use later to compare the hydrophobic performance for evaluation. So just spread it out. For that, I'm also using the long side now. And we just need to turn the cloth over and fold it again. You can also see nicely here that when you fold the cloth, it doesn't actually fold exactly along the seam. So it doesn't really fold in here or anything. You can see it even pushes itself apart again. So I think this whole seam issue, and here you can even see a bit of the bare area sticking out. I actually find it completely unnecessary, but you can decide for yourselves how you want to handle it. Now we take the back side. We can also fold it twice if we like. And now we'll polish this out here. Now we can also assess paint grab right away, but you'll have to trust my sensitive fingers here because that's simply the easiest way to judge it. But I can already feel it in the cloth paint grab has definitely increased, just as you'd expect from detailers. Here, yes, definitely. You can even hear it on my microphone. Wait a second. So here you can really notice this rubbing noise. And here you have a completely smooth surface. Now let's quickly apply the Sonex Ceramic Quick Detailer to the other side with a second cloth, simply so we can compare them better. And here we immediately have the advantage that we don't need a different cloth, but can just use the second one we have on hand. First, shake it out again. I forgot to mention earlier that this might help remove any small leftover fibers. And now we'll take the Ceramic Quick Detailer, move a bit further back here. And now we'll take the Ceramic Quick Detailer, spray a little onto the cloth, one spray onto the surface, and then spread it generously. It also has a very, very nice fruity scent in my opinion. That's a personal thing, a personal perception, very subjective. Personally, I prefer the slightly fruity berry scent of the Quick Detailer from Sonex, but that's just my personal opinion, and scents don't factor into the evaluation unless it really smelled bad or something. That's absolutely not the case. So neither of them. So just for your information, this one smells fruitier to me. The other one is more in the direction of banana, something along those lines. All right, let's spread it out. Here too, with this cloth, you can see how right at the seam, the cloth doesn't really want to fold. You really have to press it together deliberately, and you can see that it always stands up exactly at the seam. I don't know if in this case, the seam was basically melted with a hot piece of metal. It looks like it was kind of stamped on. That could be one way of doing it, but of course, it creates a certain, let's say, stiffness, as you can see here. Look, it gets really, really hard. And here we need to see whether this causes scratches because it feels very, very rough. We'll have to check because melted fiber is plastic, and that's just one of those things. Let's see how that turns out. We'll do a test on that as well. So for now, just polish it out here. Here too, you can really feel the nice smoothness of the paint. It's super easy to work with. We'll also try it on a dark vehicle. So we're not just working on silver the whole time, but here I just happen to have a nice large surface to make a perfect comparison. All right. Now we'll let that air out for a good long while. We'll wipe this off, and then the surface will be ready for the beading test. Now let's move on to another surface to talk about quick cleaning. And for things like this, these quick detailers are actually really well suited. If you have surface dirt that's really, really light, here, for example, there's a bit of pollen, a few small spots of dirt. For instance, if you're driving to a meet or something like that, that's exactly what these detailers are perfect for. If, like up here at the front, you have actual insect remains stuck on, like right here, then use an insect remover and go back to the self-service wash bay. But up here, for example, you can definitely use it. Let's spray the surface now. Again, give it an extra spray if you're dealing with dirt here, but only up to a certain level. So now we grab the cloth again, fold it up like this, and then very gently go over this surface. You can see here, the dirt buildup is really minimal, barely noticeable. And then you can twist the cloth a bit like this and use a quick detailer perfectly for a really quick clean like this. You can see here, right in the middle, and up here at the top, there's a very faint edge. That's totally fine. Now we fold the cloth again to the short fiber side and just go over it once more. And here too, we get that nice paint slickness, just like we know from all the quick detailers. So a quick detailer without paint slickness, really, the Brilliantschneit detailer is a bit of an exception there. They all have to deliver that, and honestly, 90% of them do. So up to now, this product doesn't differ from any other quick detailers we know on the market, except of course in terms of scent. But in terms of application, everything is just fine. The surface is clean. The paint feel here compared to here is also very, very noticeable. We have this friction effect or the sound here. And here it's really noticeably smoother. So the slickness is definitely there, but for me, it's also pretty standard. Both products have now had 2 full hours to air out and dry here. But even on the Dr. Glossy Quick Detailer bottle, there's no indication that you need to wait a specific amount of time, but I still like to give the product a little time anyway. And now we just spray it on, just plain water here on the surface. And let's see if we can spot the difference. Towards the tape, there we can very clearly see the separation. It's really obvious here. I hope you can see it on this silver as well, because for example, you can nicely see here how the droplets immediately pull together since they become very flat. That's why you can see it so well here. You can also clearly see the separation, and on the left and right, we have the 2 detailers. Let's take a look here at Dr. Glossy. We definitely have increased eavesdropping behavior. Let me bring you in closer. On the silver, you can actually see it very, very well too. Look here. We have a nice transition, a very clear separation. You can also clearly see it on the runoff tracks here. Very, very angular droplets. A lot is left behind. And on this side here with Dr. Glossy, it actually runs down really nicely. But we also have a few droplets here that are sticking. That could also be a bit of dust, so I'll just rinse it off. But we definitely see a clear difference between normal, clean, well-maintained paint and the detailer, right? So that's a really, really clear difference. You can see it in the runoff tracks and also compared to the untreated surface. Now let's bring the Sonax into the picture and take a look at it. Here too, the water beads off really, really nicely. Quickly rinse off the dust as well. So here we have Dr. Glossy Quick Detailer and on the other side, Sonax Ceramic Quick Detailer. I kind of feel like it runs off a bit faster here, but you can judge that for yourselves. Here, you might have a bit more of a view and can assess it yourselves again. So I think the difference is clear here, right? Over here, but in any case, both of them look here really at a good level, actually a very good level. On this horizontal surface, we hardly have any residue left in the tracks. Here we have a few, but overall, I would say they're almost the same. So there are no significant differences. We can also take another look at the hydrophobic behavior during sheeting. That was the beading just now, basically the formation of droplets. Now we have the runoff behavior again. First, I'll rinse a bit onto the middle. Here we can see the water film sticks very, very strongly. Let's go over Here beim Gone. Let's go over Hier beim Gone. And we even have looked the same pattern here along the center line from the droplets. So I would definitely say they are equally strong. Let's take another look. Zack, the line. Damn. And over here, you can see a very slight difference. So in terms of beading behavior, it's definitely really good, but I didn't expect anything else because we know where these things are made. And that's why it really looks here as if we have the same product, right? I want to do a little additional test in a moment. I'm going to take the insect remover from Shiny Garage, the bug off, and just spray a bit of it onto the surface here. 2 sprays, 1, 2. I'll let it sit for a moment to take effect. According to Shiny Garage, the recommended dwell time is, I think, 1 to 2 minutes, or actually even 30 to 60 seconds. So it really doesn't need much time to work. This is just a quick stress test. We'll also do a really detailed comparison on this later. But I thought, hey, the surface is prepped. Let's do a quick test. Let's wait a few seconds. You can already write your opinions about the products in the comments below. What do you think so far? What's your feedback? Maybe you've already tried it yourself. How satisfied are you? Feel free to write it down in the comments below. All right, now let's just rinse it off with a strong stream of water. Let's move over to the other side. And here we can see that for both, the beading effect has already diminished quite a bit. Now I'd spray this off again here because a kind of gel-like layer forms on top. And do you see how you can rinse it off here? Really easy to see, right? And exactly the same thing should happen here now. Let's take a look. And there we're exposing the product again. Very, very clear to see. So here with the insect remover, thanks to this gel formula, we can see it very, very clearly. But what we can also see now, after rinsing it off here, is that the beading effect is definitely still there. However, based on the shape of the droplets and the way the water runs off, we can see that the effect has weakened a bit. Here, we'll rinse this off a bit more as well. And here as well, I think we still have a significantly increased beading effect compared to the untreated or uncoated surface. But from the way the water runs off, we can also see exactly the same phenomenon here, as if we had, sounds strange, but as if we had used the exact same product. I'll rinse it off from above now, again from above here as well. The two surfaces are extremely similar. I hope you can compare this well here, and that you can also get a feel for these things when it comes to making comparisons, especially if you're still pretty new to this topic. It's actually a pretty good way to compare them. And I really have to say, if you go over it again with water, look, it's gotten noticeably slower, and it's exactly the same on this side. So to me, it seems like we're dealing with the exact same product. Since these detailers are very, very versatile, you can decide for yourself what you want to use such a product for at home. You can also use it, for example, if you still have small water streaks in the car. After washing, a bit of water still runs out from the mirrors, or maybe you have very hard water, for example. To prevent that from drying on, you can also use a detailer like this one. However, they also have their disadvantages, and a very important drawback is the following. If you have a sealant on your paint, in most cases, these products will sit on top of that sealant and essentially block its hydrophobic performance. This means, and I've already made a video about this, if you have a highly hydrophobic sealant on your car, like a ceramic coating that beats water very well, or even a spray wax, and then you use a product like this, and this applies to all other detailers as well, if the product has worse water beading properties than what you already have on your paint, you're essentially reducing the hydrophobic effect. That's why you should always decide for yourself when to use such a detailer and consider whether it makes sense given the product you already have on your paint. Because we clearly saw that in terms of water beading, it's definitely at a really good level. And we also directly compared it here with the ceramic Quickdetailer from Sonex, because in the product description for this one, we also find these ceramic additives included. And here one thing really needs to be emphasized. I think they're extremely similar. If they had the same scent and used neutral bottles, I honestly wouldn't know which product was which. So they're really, really similar for a detailer. It performs just as well as all the other detailers in this category. Water beading is also included. The durability was stated here, I believe, to be up to 4 weeks. Of course, it also depends on whether your car is always parked outside or if it's kept in a garage or carport. That can vary quite a lot as well. There will definitely be a long-term test on this. I'll be testing various quick detailers that also offer water beading. For example, we'll also include Dr. Wag and various other products. That's the nice thing about my channel. I can feature whatever brands I want. I don't have to sugarcoat anything for anyone or anything like that. I bought these products myself. I didn't get anything sent to me for free. Of course, that would completely restrict my opinion in the end because you wouldn't want to upset anyone, but I can say whatever I want. I brought all these products home myself, and that's why my conclusion is clear. If you're looking for a quick cleaner, a quick detailer for finishing touches, you can definitely get this one for yourself. But it has to be said very clearly. In terms of value for money, you get at least the same here, if not even a little bit better, and the price is also quite different. You really have a markup here. I did a rough comparison, and you have about a 25% markup on the retail price. If I calculate the price per liter here, I'll display it for you at this point as well. And that's why it can be summed up quite simply. If we put the two products side by side, you don't get more performance here, but you simply pay more money compared to, for example, this variant. That's a very clear fact. For those who say, money doesn't matter to me, I'm happy to spend a bit more there as well. But in the end, you haven't gained any advantage for your car because ultimately what matters is the performance on the paintwork. We have two important criteria here. It has to be enjoyable for you as the user to work with, but it also has to serve its purpose. That means the vehicle has to actually benefit from it, especially if you spend more money, for example. And in this case, specifically in this comparison, that's simply not the case for me. Here, you're simply paying more per unit of product, but you're not getting any better performance on the paint. And if someone says, okay, but I like the scent of this one better, that's not a problem either. I'm not including that in the evaluation, but purely in terms of product performance, both of them do exactly the same thing for me. You're just paying more here, and you have to decide for yourself whether it's worth it to you. Let's quickly talk about the towels again. I really have to say I was hoping for something a bit higher quality. An edge with the Dr. Glossy logo doesn't make the product higher quality, more special or unique, because here again the point is that this towel fiber is completely standard. You can get these in bulk everywhere, even in hardware stores and all sorts of discount shops, these simple microfiber towels with both short and long fibers. There's absolutely nothing special about them. I would have completely done without the edge here. I'll also do a little special test on that. That's also the reason why, for example, you don't see these kinds of towels being used on many other channels either. Personally, I don't know anyone, even in the professional detailing scene, who still uses towels with this stitched edge. They did exist many, many years ago, but towels with this kind of edge have disappeared from the market for a long time now. I'll do some small tests on that and we'll take a look at it next time. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. You've got my clear and honest feedback. You can do it. If you want to spend more money, you can do that. This one costs more, but not because it performs better than, for example, a comparable product like this. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and we'll also take another look at this in the big long-term comparison. A lot of other products will be included there as well, and we'll cover the topic of interior design separately because that's really a very detailed subject. See you in the next video. Yo, Sebastian. Ciao. Everyone.